Viva Las Vegas! Welcome to today's Crypto Blast with myself and Cam O'Connor from Institutional Fi. If you're not aware already, I'm off after this to Vegas. See you suckers later. But before I do, Cam is going to provide us with a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in crypto markets. But before he does that, I will get the legals out of the way because now more than ever, I need to make sure I'm covered. As usual, nothing discussed in this space, session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, Institutional Fi, which is obviously Cam's baby, that of myself, Ryan Paisley, or indeed Cam O'Connor. Cam, how are you?
I sound good, but you sound better.
Can you tell? Can you hear my smile?
I can absolutely hear your smile, and it's infectious because I'm now smiling, but jealous at the same time.
There's every chance this might be the last crypto blast we ever do.
There is a high chance. Oh dear, I want to say low chance. There's a low chance.
Wow. No, not that bad. Right, so the last time I went to Vegas, it did end up in a psychotic episode. But moving on, what's been going on in crypto markets?
Brilliant. Yeah, let's jump into it. We'll start off with my son's also got very, very strong opinions, so he will be chiming in and correcting me where I go wrong today, no doubt. So let's start off with the Bitcoin crypto market. Start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin managed to close its third consecutive day in the green yesterday with a range of around 2.2%. We talked yesterday about around 106 being the resistance that BTC would likely face throughout the day. And in fact, this was the case, but in the overnight hours, for here, us in the UK, late in the evening in the US, BTC managed to actually break above that by around $500 to 106.5. This was short-lived as price was quickly whipped all the way down to below $105,000 and BTC now trades around 105.3. Looking across to Ethereum,
yeah,
go on.
Actually, no, I'll tell you what, no, do your rundown and I'm going to come back to Bitcoin. Go on, carry on, sorry, go.
Okay. All right, we'll jump across to Ethereum. The tight range that BTC traded within, that we saw, as we highlighted, around 2.2%, gives room for altcoins to have a little bit of a wider range. And we saw this yesterday with Ethereum trading at around 5.6%, throughout the day. And briefly following, BTC's overnight push, Ethereum actually managed to break above that 2650 line that we talked about. But this, again, short-lived price has come back down, but only by a few percent to $2,615. Go ahead with what you were going to say, because it might be similar with what I was going to say next.
So, well, so what I was going to say is like traditional markets is my bag, US denominated markets is my bag, i.e. energy. You've got to have one eye on what the dollar's doing. So if the dollar's weak, it means it's easier for non-US denominated interests to buy dollar-denominated assets because they become cheaper relative to the third party's currency. Is that something that's even mentioned or even looked at in crypto markets? For instance, like a strong dollar would weigh on, in theory, a strong dollar would weigh on the price of a dollar-denominated asset because it's more expensive for other people to buy it that aren't dollar-denominated themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this correlation between like the Dixie and BTC is often watched, with the price overlaid.
It's not like the crypto guys haven't woken up to this yet, because I did think surely, because you are quite a sophisticated bunch now, tap you on the head. It'd be interesting to see, because obviously, let's be honest, the dollar has been having a terrible time of late. And yet, Bitcoin isn't far away from all-time highs. So I think you could look at that, again, with my TradFi hat on, you could look at that and say this is actually really positive for Bitcoin. But I don't know, maybe the other way around, maybe it should be a lot higher, I don't know. I think it's just something to bear in mind that people do need to be watching what is going on with the dollar.
I think you're 100% right. And, if you kind of look at to where the market's heading as far as dynamics and its trading with Bitcoin treasuries on the rise. We talked about yesterday, over $85 billion have now been allocated into, corporate treasuries. So again, the dollar dominated. We're going to have to look at that, not as an inverse indicator, but, to give us, a look into whether the strength and weaknesses is coming into the market. That would be definitely something to pay more attention to. It used to be really tightly correlated. There was a time where it was a really tight correlation between, in a sense, the inverse reactions would happen within the Dixie and BTC. However, it kind of skewed away from that for a few years, post around, I think it was around 2023. But again, like you highlighted, there could be cause to have one eye on that.
I've never been a fan of like quoting oil in sterling or quoting oil in euros or gold in euros or gold in yen. Or I've never really been a fan of that, to be fair. But I'd be interested to see what Bitcoin looks like in some of these other currencies where we know there is a high crypto adoption. So potentially, I don't know. I know crypto's quite big. Is crypto big in Japan? It feels like it should be. But I would be interested to see what the yen Bitcoin chart looks like, because of anyway, I just think I'm talking bollocks. I'm in holiday mode, but I do think it's something worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, no, well, I think most of these need paired currencies to BTC at all-time highs or in extreme all-time highs, and they have been for a while, even when the US dollar hadn't even seen its all-time high printed. So definitely something to pay attention to. And maybe I'll just throw out a few different charts and observations over the next week or two.
Well, there you go. Well, if you do it in the next week, I won't see it.
Well, then I won't do it this week. I'll do it next week.
So wait until I come back and I've put my eyes back in.
That may take more than a week. I don't know. Let's see. So just jumping back to Ethereum from a technical standpoint, Zion's got a few opinions on that. The chart shows a very clear bull flag forming, no doubt something that you'll see highlighted from your favorite analysts very, very soon. The support side, roughly around 2450, and the resistance at around 2700 from a large time frame view. Moving down the market cap list in no particular order, Solana is trading at $161, XRP at $2.20, BNB is trading at $665. So moving on to the news stories from the last 24 hours. Tether, through its unified liquidity network, which is the USD T0, and in collaboration with the TON Foundation, launched XAU T0, an omni-chain gold-backed stablecoin. It's built by the Layer Zero's omni-chain OST standard, and XAU T0 enables seamless cross-chain transfers without wrapping or middle chains, enhancing accessibility for Telegram's user base, which we highlighted yesterday is over 1 billion users, accordingly. Once again, Telegram are, adopting and opening up those barriers to access for digital assets, now with, the ability to gain access, with an in-wallet.
And do you know what? As if by magic, completely unrelated, but PIQs are hopefully very soon, after the release of our Discord news bot, which should go live in the coming days, we'll be launching a Telegram news bot. For anyone who's got a Telegram channel and they want news pumped straight into it, give us a shout. Absolutely.
Look at that for time.
Hey.
So, moving on, Robinhood acquires Bitstamp for $200 million in cash. Robinhood Markets finalized its $200 million cash acquisition of Bitstamp, a Luxembourg-based corporation, cryptocurrency exchange founded in 2011. The deal, initially announced June of last year, expands Robinhood's crypto footprint beyond the US into Europe, the UK and Asia, adding over 50 global licenses and registrations. And that probably, if you had to take a guess, was the reason for the acquisition. That ability to essentially buy 50 global licenses and registrations is not something to turn your head away from. Moving on, Tether and Bitfinex transferred around 25,812 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $2.7 billion, to 21 Capital, a Bitcoin treasury firm, as part of a pre-funding phase for its equity raise and public listing via its SPAC merger with Cantor Equity Partners. Tether contributed in total 18.8 thousand BTC, including 2 transfers, while Bitfinex sent around 7,000 BTC. These transfers, confirmed by Tether's CEO Paolo Andronio on X, aligned with 21 Capital's goal to amass a total of 42,000 BTC, positioning itself as the third largest corporate Bitcoin holder behind MicroStrategy and Mara Holdings. So again, lots and lots of BTC being taken off of, exchanges, out of
Yeah.
circulation, essentially, if going to be added to these treasuries. And it doesn't seem to be slowing anytime soon. Realtor Logtech Holdings, a Hong Kong-based Nasdaq-listed company focused on real estate and logistics technology, disclosed in a recent SEC filing its plan to acquire $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. They're exactly focusing on 15,000 BTC, so obviously assuming the price of 100k per BTC. They're calling it the BTC program. It's essentially the same as the Bitcoin strategy. They're just adding it to the corporate treasury. But again, you talked about Bitcoin popularity over in Asia. Well, here you go. Southeast Asia is their target region. So BTC is going absolutely global with this treasury reserves plan. My next story is to do with strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy.
Oh no. Oh no.
I don't know how much you want to get into this. Zion says no. He's got really strong opinions of Michael Saylor. He doesn't agree. So they announced a new initial public offering of 2.5 million shares of its 10% Series A perpetual Stride preferred stock with a ticker STRD. The offerings target institutional investors and a selected non-institutional investor group, with proceeds intended for general corporate purposes, essentially acquisition of Bitcoin, to put it to work, to gain more Bitcoin per share. We can get into the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, go on. But what's your TLDR? Because you're obviously not happy about it.
It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. He's popping up with all these different, ways that you can access to lend him money to buy Bitcoin. And it's just another one of those. We don't have to get into the detail.
Again, right. So I have to, full disclaimer. Hi, Tom. Full disclaimer. I'm not a big fan of Michael Saylor's strategy. I think it's a really bad way to get involved with Bitcoin when there's so many far better ways to do it. He's a crook. He's been proven to be a crook. He rinsed strategy the first time, MicroStrategy the first time. This feels like, remember about a month or so ago, Cam, we were saying when it was who was the other investment company, capital company that came up to basically to take on MicroStrategy? 42 Capital or something, what are they called?
21 Capital.
Right, no, who we just talked about, 21 Capital, right. We said they were a much better fit for the purpose. And we said straight away, you'll see a lot more of these. And I remember saying to you, if I was Michael Saylor, I'd be shitting myself. Because all of a sudden, he's not the only kid in town, and he's now being held to account. And there's other people out there now keeping him honest. And it appears to me, again, I know nothing about the inner workings of MicroStrategy or anything like that. It bores me to tears. But I get the impression, kind of what you've just alluded to, that in strategy towers, they are shitting it, and they're just trying to think of any exotic way to try and sell more stock or get more kind of income or get more inflow into their business. And again, I think, like you said, it just feels like any wonderful way that exotic way you can think of to get more money. That's what I think we're seeing. And I think we're going to see more of it. And I really do think this is kind of I think we're already past the top of Michael Saylor, but I think this is now kind of the next 12, 18 months, it's going to be a real tough grind for him. And I would not be along with stolen money, MicroStrategy.
Yeah, no absolutely. No, of course not. Of course not. We did the legals at the beginning of this space. And you shouldn't be taking investment advice from spaces, let's be honest. Right. So the SDRD stock, their dividends, they're advertising it as 10% annual rate. But if you look in the T's and C's, it's only if declared by Strategy's board. So it's not even been approved yet. There's kind of just a warning, like red flag just there. One of the key highlights, unlike cumulative dividends, unpaid dividends do not cure or compound. So Strategy can redeem all of SDRD's shares if less than 25% of the original issued shares remain, or in certain tax events, they can just cash out. Yeah,
This just this just
there's
seems
a
like
few red flags here, isn't
yeah,
there?
it just seems like they've designed this so that at the first sign of trouble they can take the money and run.
Yeah, and if you pay attention to the SEC filings, you'll notice there is a disclaimer in very, very small print that they hold the right to remain, the right to sell at any given point if they deem the markets, could potentially
There we
see a
go.
pullback.
There we go.
Yeah. So not even, provided, guardrails for them to, these would be the financial conditions that we need to see to sell. They're saying, actually, if we just want to sell, we will sell. And then we'll get on to how much Bitcoin they actually hold. Now they hold over $40.6 billion worth, at an average of $70,000 dollars per Bitcoin. So again, if you are a trader, this is probably going to be a number that you need to be paying attention to, because when a company holds almost 600,000 BTC, that's not a small number. So if they're going to start selling and shifting those Bitcoins, it's going to affect the markets in a major way.
Well,
But yeah.
and once Mr. Saylor runs out of kidneys to sell, he's going to have to sell them, right?
Well, yeah, sell a limb, sell a kidney, I think he's been on record of saying.
Child.
Sell a child. Zion, how do you feel about being sold for Bitcoin? Oh, what was his answer? It's about right. Just in case any parental people are listening, no, we're not
Yeah, this is a joke. This is a
considering,
joke.
this is a joke. Right, in a similar vein, Metaplanet acquired an additional 1,088 BTC for, last week for $117 million, outpacing Strategy's, acquisition of Bitcoin last week, actually. They now hold a total of 8,888 Bitcoin, so 8,888. There you go, Zion. 8. Well done. You can say 8. That's brilliant. So yeah, we saw them do something very similar when they hit the sevens, with the quadruple sevens, the 7777. And now they've gone for the number of 8888. So someone there on the board has got a sense of humor, and likes to see,
Also,
some very
not
straight
for
numbers.
nothing, not for nothing, but an 8888 account was traditionally always your error account when you're on the trading floor. I can see Dunny listening; he'll be nodding away. So if anyone that remembers Nick Leeson from Barings Bank, he hid all his trades in the 88888 account. So there you go, for what it's worth.
That's a pretty interesting fact. I quite like that. Brilliant. Just a couple other news stories to end the show with. Russia's largest bank, Sberbank, launches Bitcoin-linked structured bonds. Singapore's mass orders all local crypto firms without a DTSP license to stop serving overseas clients by the end of June. And Ripple's USD, RLUSD token is now recognized by Dubai's DFSA's regime. So there we go. Good news for Ripple, out in Dubai. And that is your lot for today.
Awesome. Well, Cam, thank you so much. I will see you. Well, our next show will probably be next Wednesday because I land Tuesday morning and I'll be in no fit state to talk to anyone, let alone you, about crypto. No offense. Listeners, thank you as always. We really do appreciate you, especially the vast majority of you that are playing this back in the future. So welcome from the past. Whatever you're doing over the next week or so when you won't be hearing from me and Cam, well, me at least, stay safe, keep it tight, and try and stay out of trouble. Much love.
Have a good one.